Hey folks, with us today, Goutham Jay from FameWall.io. Goutham, super happy to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me here, Nikolas. Glad to talk with you.
Perfect. Let's dive right in. So what problem does FameWall actually solve?
Yeah, so the problem is actually that you have a lot of entrepreneurs and creators who would like to have social proof on their website so that there are higher chances for potential website visitors to convert into customers, right? But the problem is it's not easy to collect social proof. Like a lot of entrepreneurs and creators use Google Sheets and it gets messy. You have to follow up with your customers to get testimonials and so on. So FameWall actually helps you solve that problem by using a simple link to collect testimonials and including text and videos from your customers and simply host them on your website using a custom widget. Like you don't have to go through any of the complicated stuff. It's simply set up using no code.
God, how did you stumble upon that problem?
Yeah, so this problem is actually having a lot of existing solutions in the market, but it happened when I was I was working on my previous project, which was for in the Indian consumer market. But then it was actually super hard to collect testimonials using the existing solution itself. And even the good ones were mostly expensive and out of reach for small businesses and entrepreneurs and creators like me. So that's when I started building FameWall in public. And since then, it's just grown. Well, I could say.
Yeah, I would love to double click on the building in public part because for everyone who follows you on Twitter, they know it. For those who don't, you are like very transparent on your solopreneur journey. How did you or why did you make the decision to build in public?
Right. That's actually a good question. So my business is everything about trust, right? Like for example, to give somebody a testimonial, a customer needs to trust that business. Well, like they wouldn't want to spread bad word of mouth for others. So it's fundamentally built on trust. My business is fundamentally built on trust. So built in public just adds to that as a business owner who's running a business built on trust. So for example, customers get to see what I do. Like usually, I don't paint rosy pictures of what happens in entrepreneurship. Like I just share everything, including the downfalls. Like if I don't feel good on some days, I just share it publicly. And in some ways, it has actually helped me because I've had customers who mentioned that they found the product from Twitter and they converted into paying customers because they felt that this was a good product to bank on and they trusted me as a founder.
Got it. And then staying on the being transparent part, you also openly talked about like the hard parts about the journey, so that it's even like sure burnout is maybe like too far, but basically that it sometimes feels like even getting in that direction. So first off, could you describe like how that feeling started for you and then what you did to overcome it, or even if you overcame it? Because like for me personally, I know in my entrepreneurial journey, there were even like months where I felt burned out and like it really took a while to get out of that. But I love that you shared that so openly because I think like not a lot of people do. So I would love to dig deeper on that topic.
Yeah, so it actually started. I didn't know that this might potentially lead to burnout. Like it actually started for fun. So I thought maybe I could work all weekends and weekdays for just since the last 2 weeks because I felt I had a lot of energy. So what happened was during the first week I didn't notice anything. Like I was still feeling fresh. So during the weekends I used to code on features which customers asked and then fix bugs during the weekends. That is on Saturdays and Sundays. And during the weekdays, I do my marketing tasks, which is like creating content on Twitter, doing outreach on social media, and so on. So I was doing this for a period of 2 weeks. During the end of the second week, I felt a slight drain in my energy. And that's when I actually paused everything. Like I didn't want to burn out because I knew that if I still kept pushing myself, it would actually burn me out. And actually, yesterday I wasn't able to work properly. So the feeling of burnout, like for me personally, I identify burnouts when you don't have the energy to wake up on work on something which you actually love. Like you just feel like closing your laptop and just being away for a day or something like that. So yeah, so that was when I felt it creeping in. But no, actually, fortunately, I don't have any symptoms of burnout.
That's perfect. I mean, it's I think it's a very smart decision to really take the rest day, just like an athlete would, and not just think, okay, I have to hustle through that. Let's dive into like the more like tactical and like businessy part. So could you, just to set the frame for the rest of the convo, could you give us a rough overview of either revenue, if you share that, or just amounts of customers, just to get a state and a feel for where you are at right now with FameWall?
Right. So it's currently close to around $600 in monthly recurring revenue, and there are around 42 customers at the moment. So what happened was, like, till now I was growing FameWall organically. I relied too much on Twitter. So that was something I've been pondering about. Like, only since last month I started trying out different channels. But until then, all the revenue till date has come organically from Twitter and creating content on Twitter and LinkedIn. But apart from that, I've seen quite some amount of success with cold outreach on Twitter. But yeah, there are a lot of developments going around on Twitter, right? Like, there are, since due to the platform restrictions, a lot of tools are closing down. So yeah, I'm still working on finding a consistent channel to grow the business.
Yeah. So when did you actually start working on it? Just to set the timing of basically when you started like using Twitter as a like growth mechanism, and then
Yeah. So to give a clear picture, like, I actually started creating content on Twitter, not just about my business, but as a person, just last year. So this started back in February. So I had no experience building products or setting up businesses before that. I was just a software developer. So during March was when I started building FameWall in public. But what happened was, after a period of 2 months, I thought maybe I could try out a different product, just because that time there was this idea of having small bets, right? But unfortunately, the other product I built out, that was an email marketing tool in itself. I enthusiastically started building the product because I had problems with sending emails for my customers at FameWall back when I started in March. So it stemmed from a problem I had. But unfortunately, I couldn't focus fully on Mailbot because since it was an email marketing tool, it required a lot of energy from me, where I had to manually do demo calls with potential customers who are especially B2B companies. And then I had to also work on market coding features. Since it's a email marketing tool, customers requires a certain set of features by default. So I felt that I might not be able to do this for a year. So what happened was, after working on it for 2 months, I just wanted to put it on hold. But parallelly, FameWall was getting in customers even without me doing any marketing during that period. So that's when I jumped back to FameWall again after a few months. So what happened was, I worked on FameWall for March, and then I resumed it back in October last year. So since October, I've been working on it till now.
got it. So excluding the break, I think that's like roughly one year where you like put work into that. And then why did you make the decision that Twitter is like not the only thing that should lead traffic? Because in the end, like, if you can scale one traffic source, I think that's like totally fine. So like, did something happen that you like stopped being happy with the amount of traffic that came via Twitter? Or like, why are you now trying to get more things going, basically, besides the organic growth?
Yeah. So with Twitter is that one thing I've noticed is my target audience is more of small businesses and solopreneurs. Twitter does have them, but they're quite fragmented, you could say. Like, most of my tweets are reaching people who are tech indie hackers, you could say. Like, they know to build products and they're running a business as a solopreneur, so something like that. But they're not the ideal customer segment for me. Like, they do convert as paying customers, but according to lifetime value, if I see, it's more of course creators and content creators and something like that. So I'm just experimenting by reaching out to them instead. So that's what I'm doing since it's long.
Yeah, so if I understood correctly, you found out just by looking at the metrics that ghostwriters and like content creators are basically, so the non-tech peeps basically are your best customers, and now
Exactly.
You're trying specific channels to go after them, basically.
Yeah.
Got it. This episode is brought to you by ReactSquad.io, the boutique React agency for SaaS startups. If your front-end team is overwhelmed and you need more hands on deck, go to reactsquad.io and get a React.js developer embedded in your team in less than 7 days. And then what's your take on code outreach so far? I mean, it's brand new for you, but I know that especially product people, which I would count myself into as well, are like a bit hesitant with everything with that's like cold, basically. So how is it going for you so far?
Yeah, so regarding that, I also tried cold emails. Like for outreach, I was trying out cold emails and social DMs. So I actually didn't find any amount of success with cold emails, and I wasn't really enjoying it either because there's a lot of things that goes behind cold emails, like sending a short copy, following it up with a question, and then again having follow-up emails and so on. But I wasn't actually enjoying the process of finding out leads from there and doing so on. But social DMs are actually different. Like, the thing with social DMs is that people, your prospects can verify your account directly by just clicking on your profile. So they'll know what type of content you create and what the other people are saying about you in the comments and so on. So that's actually a different game. So I just keep my social DMs simple. Like I just tell about my product and I ask them if it would be helpful for them. So it doesn't end up as a cold sales pitch. I just ask them if it would be helpful. If they don't find it helpful, they wouldn't usually reply. So that isn't the problem. So if they find it helpful, they just reply to me and asking about more details.
Got it. So in summary, you're using your socials because you have a bit of a following, you're publishing content, so you have the social proof there basically. And then you're doing like a non-hard sell, meaning you're not the typical sales guy reaching out, but you're just like having like a casual first DM basically. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. So do you think that it's like a very cool combo to have the content creation to build social proof for the DMs, or do you think the DMs could even work for people who maybe create less content?
You mean my ideal customer segment, or?
No, I mean like basically like if for the other like indie hackers listening, do you think they should do the content creation part even just to have the ability to have more success with the outreach? Or do you think the outreach would even work if you would just have like a proper profile, basically?
Yeah, so I actually think one thing you could try out is like you can try to build an audience by the side, but it's not mandatory, as you mentioned, because I've seen a lot of founders who had success without having an audience on Twitter. Yeah, it's just the message that matters. Like if they see you as a subject matter expert, they'll just definitely reply to your DM.
Got it. And then, so right now, regarding like it's on your website, I guess free users are in there as well. You have like 1,000 plus users, $600 MRR, 40 plus customers. So, what's the next goal you set for yourself at this stage? Do you have like a specific MRR target you're going after, or like how do you plan to go from here, basically in the next year?
Right. So actually, so 1K MRR would ideally give me the condition, you could say, like having enough money not to worry about the next month's expenses. Since I'm in India right now, the expenses are quite cheap here. So 1K MRR would do good for me, but ideally my target is to reach 5K MRR and beyond. So, and along the way, I actually made up my mind to be in for a slow and steady growth, because I'm actually upskilling myself and trying to unlearn things I learned as a software developer, right? So I know it actually takes quite some time, but I'm ready for it as well.
What are those things that you actively have to unlearn?
Right. The simple thing is, for example, it might sound cliche, like you might think that having a great product would do everything, right? Like, but it's actually about distribution and having having a channel to rely on. So, for example, you might be building a product, but you might build an audience along the way while building the product. But even if that product fails, you'll be able to build something else which will get you to success, just because you had some amount of distribution already. So I'm just saying this as a long-term game, like over a period of 2 to 3 years. But yeah, for the short term, 5K MRR is my goal for now.
Got it. And do you see yourself hiring employees, or do you really want to double down on like the solo entrepreneur path?
No, nothing like that. Like if it actually frees up more of my time, I'd be happy to hire freelancers and others too. So that will not be a problem. Even full time, I might employ full time employees if it suits me. If it suits my lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting because a lot of indie hackers, at least the ones you see on Twitter, are like the want to do it solo forever, basically, because they just don't want the potential headache of having employees. Is there like some like, let's say, maybe fear is the wrong word, but like do you have doubts that the having employees will still be fun, or are you just interested in like going through the journey basically?
So actually, the thing is, so for me, it's just a matter of getting to learn new perspectives. For example, if I don't have any employees, I might only rely upon other founders and creators on platforms like Twitter, right? So, but with employees, there'll be different dynamics. I get to know what they think when they approach a problem. Like I get to know my own pitfalls if I'm improving or not, something like that. Like I just see it as an opportunity to learn more about myself and improve by hiring.
Got it. And then one final thing before you wrap up, I think building an audience, if it be on Twitter or on LinkedIn, is like still a thing that can be very valuable, and building in public as well. Asking for myself here, so super interested myself. What is something that you think someone being brand new to building in public should do, or like what's a good mindset to be in, or just like how can one get going? Because for me personally, sometimes it feels a bit weird to just like talk about yourself and what you're doing. So I'm right now, if I share something, it's typically I learned something by deeply studying it, and then I share the learning, but it's like totally detached from myself as a human and from the company I'm building even. So any tips for that?
Right. Actually, that's a good question. Like I actually thought if I were to start again on Twitter due to some platform ban or something, I was just thinking what I do. So the thing is, it's actually quite hard. Like people usually say it's easy, like they give you 10 growth hacks, but it's actually hard to grow on platforms like LinkedIn and Twitter because there is a lot of content out there. And but the thing people might be interested in with you is your expertise. Like you might have your own take on things, right? So you have to have a balance. Like at least in the early stages, when you're going from 0 to say 1,000 followers, you need to actively spend around at least or 60% of your time engaging with people rather than posting content. But for that itself, you have to find out people in your niche, like whom you might be like whose content you might be interested to read. So what happens is it'll set a flywheel in motion. Like you will start reading content of some people you like, and you might create content replying to those content, like something like those. It might take inspiration from that content. So you have to add your own take. Like when you create a tweet, you have to take care that the hook is something people might be interested in. Because even as a growing creator now, I've had some of my tweets which don't get much traction. But the main reason for that is the hooks are pretty bad, or the content itself doesn't have some of your unique technique. You might say content SEO is overrated or something like that. Here are 10 tips. If you say something like that, it's just commoditized. Any other creator can come up and create such content. But for example, if you mention something like, I tried this SEO marketing campaign, this was the result. Something that could be improved is this. Something like that. If you could condense it in a single tweet, even if it doesn't get traction, people will start noticing. If you just start being consistent over a period of weeks, you will eventually start growing fast on Twitter.
Got it. So basically sharing the things like SEO tips, but then not from the theoretical perspective, but basically, hey, here's what we tested, here's what we learned, and maybe even here are our fuck ups. So that's how you would go about it if you had to do it again. Plus then spending like 50-60% of the time engaging with people, getting like one follower after another by like hand-to-hand combat, basically.
Exactly.
Awesome, cool, man. Then for we talked so much about Twitter. Like, how can people find you on Twitter?
Yeah, so you can put up my handle. So it's just Goutham Jay 8. The username is Goutham Jay 8, and the name is Goutham Jay.
Awesome. Perfect. Then it was super fun chatting with you, and talk to you soon on Twitter.
Yeah, sure. Nice to catch up with you.
If you like this episode, you will love our newsletter, The SaaS Operator by EarlyNode. Get actionable insights from SaaS veterans like Patrick Campbell, Christoph Jans, and Corey Haynes right into your inbox. Your 5-minute read every Tuesday for free. Go to earlynode.com and subscribe for free.